What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle League content. Today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the new update to Gligar in the Great League, specifically my Shadow Gligar that I just built because I had one laying around. It was just like it was fated. It was waiting for this moment. And we've paired it up with the Registeel and my rank 1 shiny Greninja for the Great League because I pride myself on my Greninjas, okay? So let's get into the battles here. It's a pretty easy concept of a team. We've got basically Registeel back there to lure out those Metachams. Gligar's in the lead as the feature here, and then Greninja's just there to sweep because, I mean, I just wanted to run Greninja, okay? I don't need another reason. I just want to run it. So we're going to go for the dig against the Carbink. Now, one thing to note that I actually found out after I did these sets was Shadow Gligar actually loses everything but the zeros to Carbink. So I do have to switch out at some point here. So I'm going to go for the second dig. I also don't... I forgot the counts for Rock Throw to Rock Slide for a little bit. So that's why I CMP'd rather than throwing a lot sooner. But I lure out a Metacham here. Probably should have swapped a little bit sooner. That was kind of my hope at the beginning. But because I had CMP'd that dig, I did end up needing to go for another one to make it count. So... I get the Metacham out, we get the debuff, which is nice. Metacham is just going to go for a nice punch, probably running Psychic. I think you still want to go for Psychic, though, just for that chance of the debuff for defense. But either way, I'm able to get to another Zap Cannon. This is going to force the final shield off of my opponent here, and they're going to farm me all the way down. Now, they are double debuffed here, so it's a wash, right? I have way too little HP for my Gligar to tank an Ice Punch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with my Gligar here. I'm going to get a couple wing attacks through. They go for a counter. They've got 2 ice punches, so I'm going to shield up the first one, and I'm going to big brain. I'm going to catch the next one on Greninja. Yeah. This is, and if you guys have seen, you already know how this battle ends if you watched the short that I uploaded a couple days ago. Here comes the victory bell. It's a Shadow, but I'm able to get to the Hydro Cannon. Now, this is one of those chances where I wish I was running Aerial Ace, but honestly, I'm okay with it, because I get the farm down here off of the Victory Bell, and I have to basically not throw energy. So I had to be very patient. I actually waited a turn because I had to see if the opponent was going to come in with the Carbink or the Metacham, and I had to react accordingly. But the dig is going to go through on that Carbink and take it out, and that's going to be a good first game here. Now, I'm showing you guys my first 6 sets through these first 3 videos, regardless of whether I win or lost. So thankfully I went positive in most of the sets, but I just want to show you guys so you can see like the raw, you know, unfiltered, I guess, unfiltered results of the teams that I ran. So I'm going to go for Zap Cannon here because I know that I'm not going to be able to win the 2 shields in this matchup. It just isn't happening. And they're likely to shield anyway. So I would rather get potential debuffs, but because I don't get a debuff, now I just have to, like, I have to let this go, or I have to shield and go for the next move and get the second shield. So I'm going to opt to get the shield advantage and go for the Zap Cannon, again, hoping for a debuff. Gligar can come in and do some work here against this obstacle, and if I get the debuff, that'll be better. So thankfully I got one of the debuffs. I'm up a shield, which is, honestly, that's what you need with a team for Greninja. Like, Gligar is here as the feature, but Registeel's in the back to pull shields, and Greninja's there to sweep with the shield advantage that creates. So, also, something worth noting is Obstagoon does beat Gligar to CMP. A lot of things apparently beat Gligar to CMP. Gligar has about 2 attack or so higher than Metacham, so even that's an IV dependent CMP. So it's risky, man. So we're gonna see the Aerial Ace again here, but I have to let them get to another move, and I have to also remember that they've still got 2 Pokemon in the bag. It's very, very risky here. I'm gonna go immediately into my Greninja here to try and make something happen, and I kind of have to eat this. I have to eat this. I don't have a choice. So they're going to throw Grass Knot, and I'm just hoping that whatever they have in the back isn't Poliwrath, but Poliwrath, and I got hard countered there no matter what, dude. You know, there's, like, aside from the Gligar into Cresselia, there's just nothing I could have done there. So sometimes we just accept the losses as they come and move on, and that's going to be a good game. Well played to my opponent. They completely destroyed me. In the next game, we've got a Crobat, some spice at the lower ranks here, but Crobat, still not a bad Pokemon for the opponent here, but I think I stay in a little bit too long. I, for some reason, thought it was 5 air slashes, and that was like I was correct. But I'm staying with my Gligar too long here, and I need to swap faster so that I can draw out a potential fighter. So I stayed in a bit too long here. I should have just immediately maybe swapped in the Registeel or something, but we draw out a Swampert, so I need to keep 2 shields in order to take care of this Swampert. This is going to be a very, very difficult thing to deal with. especially because I don't know what's in the back. So Focus Blast is going to come out. I'm not going to go for Zap Cannons here in case they decide not to shield it. I mean, there's really no point. They're going to destroy me anyway, and the debuff doesn't really make a difference. Just gives them more farm, if anything. So I want to keep this Swampert on its toes and just go straight for my... I can't speak. Go straight for my Focus Blast, but unfortunately, I'm not able to do so, and Swampert looks to also be Gligar to CMP. It's just... it happens with everything. Gligar is not attack weighted. Just even though it looks like it might be, it's definitely not. It is one of the lower attack Pokemon in the league. So I'm going to come in with Greninja to start getting had on energy. And lo and behold, what's in the back but a Sylveon. So this looks basically unwinnable. I don't even get to my next move. We both got a shield apiece. I'm going to go for a full farm down here. And thankfully I get it. Now we're going to see the Crobat come in. I have to go for the Aerial Ace here. If the opponent shields, they can probably farm me down. But they let it go. And if this Swampert, and I believe this is the third Hydro Cannon that's throwing, so it should be on its 5 cycle, or no, 4 cycle. This is the 5th Hydro Cannon. Either way, they're on their 5 cycle, and that means I'm able to farm down, and otherwise I was going to lose that game for sure. So very good, very close game to my opponent. I probably misplayed that too as well, but they, you know, when someone takes advantage of that and can, you know, flip a match because of someone else's misplays, that's called skill. That's good on them. So we got a Galvantula in the next lead. In the next game, this is a pretty good lead for Gligar because you resist everything. And I certainly don't want this to be locked up against my Greninja. So I'm going to stay in here. And the opponent decides to swap into a Hypno. And I, for some reason, am just sitting here and letting them get as much energy as they please before I swap. Now, I'm going to go into my Greninja here because I do double resist the psychic damage coming from the Hypno. I'm going to go for the Night Slashes here. And at this point, it depends on what they throw. I'm actually willing to find out how much damage a Thunder Punch does. It's early ranks, but they're running Ice Punch, which means that I should be able to get some farm here, and they go for a move way too quick for it to be another, you know, like a Focus Blast or something. So I'm like, but they threw Ice Punch the first time, much they throw it a second time, and they do, and I'm able to farm all the way down. And if anybody has ever played a Greninja before, I don't care what comes in, this much energy on a Greninja is lethal. So I'm going to go for Hydro Cannon number 1. Medicham's going to shield. Going to go for Hydro Cannon number 2. And the Medicham is going to have to take it to the face. Now, thankfully, this Hydro Cannon will put it well within Zap Cannon range, but unfortunately, I'm not able to get to another one. So, Gligar is going to come in. And I'm going to shield up what could be an Ice Punch, but it's just a power-up punch. My opponent comes in with the... oh my goodness. My tongue is going faster than my brain right now. Yeah, button. They come in with the Galvantula, eat a dig to the face. We hit the Kaboom button. The opponent has to go for a charge move here. And I've still got a full HP Registeel in the back, but Gligar's going to be able to get to this Aerial Ace before they can do anything about it. And that's going to be a good game. Well played. There we go. Got the thoughts back in order at the end there. Good stuff. Anyway, on to the next game here. We've got Gligar into Lickitung, a neutral matchup. And honestly, it's okay for Greninja, but I'm looking to hopefully catch a Body Slam here. Unfortunately, I don't, and they swap out with the energy right into their Lickitung, so opponent showing some great patience, playing very well here. I'm going to go for my Zap Cannon and just do what I've been trying to do with my Registeel the entire time. Just go for debuffs and try to, you know, just make some sort of an advantage for myself late game. So they're going to go for an Ice Punch. That tells me they don't have Power Up Punch, which is okay for me here, but they're going to be able to farm my Registeel all the way down if they shield here. And these Ice Punches are double super effective into Gligar, but after the debuff, I'm willing to also, once again, find out how much they do. Gligar's still pretty bulky, even though mine's a Shadow, and I'm going to go for the Aerial Ace right away to force the opponent to either give up their Medicham or give up their final shield. And so they decide to give up their final shield, so I'm going to go ahead and let the first Ice Punch go, and then I'm going to shield up the second one, and I'm going to hope to try and farm this thing down before it can get to a third Ice Punch. So Gligar is going to continue to do some wing attacks here, and then I'm hoping that that doesn't happen. The opponent comes in with the Lickitung, and I'm just going to let it go. I'm going to put my faith into my Greninja. I left my Gligar with a tiny sliver of HP, just in case I can try and use it later for a catch or something. But Hydro Cannons are going to come out much, much quicker, but I'm just going to farm up. My opponent throws a move. I don't remember how much energy they came and left with, because licks are just hard to count, especially when there's swaps involved. So I am just going to go ahead and continue over farming to what I think would be the, just before a Power Whip here, and I'm going to go for this Night Slash to try and take out the Lickitung. Perfect over farm, takes out Lickitung. Going to be able to go for one more, man. Going to go for one one more Water Shuriken, and then I'm going to get to take out their Metacham with a Night Slash, and then in comes the G-Fisk. Opponent ABA weak to counter, but that G-Fisk is going to meet its maker because I've got... Beautiful swap. I've got Hydro Cannon. My opponent was at the Rock Slide. I'm going to swap to try and get them to throw their energy, and thankfully, I catch on my Gligar, and now the Greninja is going to come in to finish off this G-Fisk, and that's going to be a good game. Well played. Me, just my mouth just running faster than I think it can. Good lead in the next match against Golisopod. Gligar is going to force them to swap out. They swap in their Dugong here, and we have to remember that Dugong does have access to Drill Run, which can be very dangerous. Now, I'm going to go ahead and shield up the first one because I know that if they can land the Drill Run here, they have a chance to flip, and I would rather shield the first one since I'm going to go for a Zap Cannon anyway. If I can debuff their attack with the Zap Cannon, which thankfully we do, I'm going to be able to take less damage from future Drill Runs, and I'm not feeling very pressured to shield this one, so I'll let it go. And I can easily tank another one, so they basically need 2 more Drill Runs to KO me here. I'm going to go for another Zap Cannon just to try and lower their attack again. It's one more lock on, and I would rather go for the Zap Cannon, and that does a ton of damage and allows me to farm down and just confer an honorary button. So I'm going to go for this Focus Blast here before the Sudowoodo that comes in can counter me down. Now, Sudowoodo would be very dangerous if aligned to Greninja, even though without shields now, it makes it very doable. So I swap into my Gligar, giving up Switch here because they have a Sudowoodo, and they also had something else that was weak to Gligar. So it should be safe for me now to be able to swap in my Gligar, go for this Dig, take out the Sudowoodo, and then they have Golisopod in the back, and I can manage this. With a shield, I should be able to get this Aerial Ace off, which I will shield my Gligar in order to get it off here. And then after this, anything at this point can pretty much KO the Golisopod as long as I'm not a fool and misplay. But it's so much damage from the buffed Aerial Ace that it actually just about takes out the Golisopod, and that's going to be a good game. Ooh, I don't know, my chair is coming off. Oh no. That's not good. All right, we got a bad lead in the next game. That's a Walrein, and they come in with a Nidoqueen, so I'm essentially getting hard countered here. So here's the thing. This is a very interesting game. Focus Blast lands. 2 Focus Blasts is enough to KO a Nidoqueen. So, shiny Nidoqueen at that. Nice flex, by the way. Opponent gonna call the Poison Fang here. I figured I'm not gonna shield this because I would rather just get some farm on my Gliscor. Now, what I should have done here is just completely no shielded, period, taking the shield advantage, but I was really hoping not to have to align that Walrein onto my Gligar, so I decided to shield this Earth Power, and I want to try to get to the next one before my opponent does. They just threw Earth Power, so I should be able to get there before they do. So I'm going to throw this here, and the only way that they win this matchup is if they Poison Fang bait me and then make it to the next Earth Power before I do. Before I make it to my Focus Blast. So I'm going to call this. Again, this is a Poison Fang, and I call it correctly, and I basically am at my opponent's mercy here. I decide to shield this. I feel like this is probably a mistake. If I hadn't shielded this, I would have been able to save that shield for Greninja and hopefully not have to give up all my shields. Because even though Greninja has a decent matchup into Walrein, it's certainly not one that I want to give it. Now, I give up Switch here. I give up Switch here trying to get ahead on energy, and once again I get met with a Charmer in the back. I don't think I've seen Greninja see this many Charmers in any league in a long time, so unfortunately not even going to be able to survive with the 1 HP in order to get that Hydro Cannon off. Gligar is going to have to try and farm down, and that's the only win condition I have here, is if my Gligar can farm down, the opponent throws the energy on their excuse me, on their Walrein into my Gligar, and then Registeel can hit the Walrein for fatal damage. But the Ice Beam comes off and takes out my Gligar, and that is going to... This is going to be game. I cannot come back from that. I was hoping that they weren't quite going to get to the Ice Beam, but good game to my opponent. They hard countered me from back to front, but they still did very well. Next game against my buddy Purple Kyogre PvP. You may have heard of him. Great dude, great content creator over on Twitch. Shoutouts to him. Now he comes in and safe swaps a Registeel, so he's definitely core broken here by my Gligar. But the problem here is that I stay in and then I try to catch a move on the Registeel, which fails. I was hoping to catch a Zap Cannon here, which he very patiently holds onto his energy and goes for the Focus Blast. And at this point, he's overfarmed to 100 energy, and my Focus Blast is not going to go off in time. My Registeel, by the way, if you notice the IVs on the bottom, has very good IVs to be able to beat things to CMP. So I overfarm here, I think, by 1 by accident, and then he just lets it go. His Medicham gets the farm down, and the writing's already on the wall. I'm gonna have to shield my Gligar in order to take this thing out. The energy is too much. It's like you have to either go down 0 shields or you have to just eat the Ice Punch. And so I eat the Ice Punch and throw the Aerial Ace, but unfortunately for me, all he has to do is double shield his Medicham and he just wins. So I'm not even going to get to the next Aerial Ace, so Greninja's going to come in and just meet its maker here. Unfortunately, this is a good game to my opponent here, but there's just nothing my Greninja can do to overcome this Medicham and something in the back. And honestly, for all I know, it could have been like a G-Fisk or something in the back too. So I think that if I had played the Registeel swap smarter, I think I would have been in a much better position to possibly have a better chance at not losing this game as horribly as I did. But yeah, he knows. He just has to go for it. And I don't even get the Hydro Cannon. So good game, dude. Thank you for, thank you for a good time as always. So Gligar into Medicham, we get the good lead here. We always have to be careful though, because if my opponent swaps and gets a farm on Medicham, then that's a problem. So I'm going to CMP on the Ice Punch, and even though I checked PV Poke and I know that Gligar wins CMP in most cases, if my opponent has a a lucky or a near hundo, a non-XL Medicham, then I get nothing. So my opponent swaps in a Tropius here. What I should have done was I definitely should have just banked this energy and left, but I wanted to get this thing down into a range where one more move would take it out, because I know the Zap Cannon is only neutral here. So I let the opponent throw their energy into my Registeel because I swapped on the Leaf Blade to try and catch it. And then I'm just going to go for... What I'm going to do here is I'm not going to just straight KO the Tropius. What I want to do is I want to come out of this with a charge move or close to it. So I'm going to go for an undercharged Focus Blast and then farm all the way down. It's Tropius. I could survive quite a bit more moves, but that undercharge is going to allow me to get this farm down. So that also allows me to come out of this matchup with nearly a charge move loaded, so that when that Medicham decides to come in and try and farm me down, they're going to be forced to eat the Zap Cannon before doing so. And that's going to either force the shield off of them, or it's going to make them take a lot of damage and they're not going to be nearly as effective. So they decide to shield. I'm immediately going to come in with my Gligar. My opponent counter swaps a G-Fisk here, and I'm going to go straight for the newly buffed Dig. And because they've done this, I know that what I can do here is I can just let my Gligar go down, save the shield for Greninja. I'm going to purposefully not throw any charge moves here. I'm going to just farm up and I'm going to let this go. I decide not to throw any energy. I'm going to come in. I'm going to give Greninja a shield if I need to. And because if I think about it, the energy from Medicham, it's either Psychic Power-Up Punch or it's Ice Punch. None of those are going to threaten to one-shot Greninja, so I'm going to shield the Rock Slide to prevent myself from taking too much counter damage, and then I'm just going to fire back-to-back Hydro Cannons. My opponent knows what's coming, and they concede, so good game to them. Into this last game, we've got Charizard, Shadow Charizard on the lead, a battle of the Shadow Flyers, and so they're going to go straight for this Dragon Claw, and I'm going to no-shield it because it's just a Dragon Claw. If it was a Blast Burn, I definitely would have looked to shield this. Because you can't really swap out here, right? Because a Blast Burn would absolutely annihilate my Registeel, and Greninja's the good answer here. But I'm going to go for the Aerial Ace, and they don't respect it. It just takes him out. Now Tentacruel is going to come in, so I'm going to bank the Dig, and I'm going to swap out. My opponent's got a frickin' Buzzwole, dude. Oh, of all the things that I did not need to see right now. Now, thankfully, I have a move loaded on my Gligar, but it's not going to be very good if this Buzzwole annihilates my Registeel, gets a farm, and yeah. So they're going to go for a Power-Up Punch. Now, I've never seen a Buzzwole running Power-Up Punch, but thankfully for them, it means that I cannot get to another move. Now, I have to try and get to 2 moves here, so I'm going to try and get up to 2 Aerial Aces and take out the Buzzwole here. Going to go for the back-to-back because they just threw that lunge. They're definitely not at enough energy for another one. And so Aerial Ace is going to get the shield. Then I'm going to go for the back-to-back and get rid of this Buzzwole. And I'm just going to hope that Greninja can put out enough damage here because that's all I got left. So with the shield, I'm really hoping that the Night Slashes are enough. Now, I'm pretty sure that Night Slash versus Aerial Ace here is a wash. If not, I know that Night Slash is probably better because it's stab damage. And I did not think that they had as much energy as they did, but this Tentacruel has a million energy, and they're able to throw back-to-back moves. I think that they were going to throw a Scald, but they get me. With the Scald, with 1 HP, my Greninja's going to have to throw the energy. Is this going to be enough to KO this Tentacruel? It's not, but Tentacruel doesn't have any energy, so Gligar comes in, tanks the resisted poison jabs, and that's going to be a draw for the final game here. Good game to my opponent. Only a 2-3 there, but again, like I said, I'm only showing these raw sets, not trying to filter out any bad games or too many losses or anything. You know, I'm just trying to get out so I can show you guys how these new Pokemon are working so you can make an educated decision on if you want to build them or not. But I definitely think that Shadow Gligar is 1,000,000% worth a build, as regular Gligar, to be honest, in this new meta. So thank you all so much for watching, and we're going to catch you all in the next one. Bye-bye.